Tony Stark didn't just recruit Peter Parker, he bet everything on him. A 15-year-old kid from Queens. No reputation, no training, just a homemade suit and a big heart. And Tony looked at him and said, "Yeah, that's the one. That's the future of the MCU." And now in Secret Wars, we're about to find out if Tony was right, because Peter Parker is gonna have to fight Doctor Doom, a villain wearing Tony Stark's face. This is the story of a decade in the making. Let's break it down. Go back to Civil War, the Avengers are tearing each other apart, Tony needs backup. So what does he do? He skips the super soldiers, skips the trained assassins, and flies straight to Queens to knock on a teenager's door, a kid who'd been stopping bike thieves in a onesie he sewed himself. Everyone thought Tony had lost his mind. Steve Rogers was furious. Natasha was skeptical, but Tony saw something nobody else did. He saw himself, the genius, the stubbornness, the burning need to do the right thing no matter the cost. Tony looked at Peter Parker and saw the hero he wished he'd been at 15. So he handed him a suit, gave him a mission, and threw him straight into the deep end in the airport battle in Germany. And Peter showed up. He went toe-to-toe with Captain America and Falcon. 6 months of experience, 2 of the greatest fighters alive, and the kid held his own. But here's the part people forget. Steve Rogers, the same guy who called it reckless to bring a child into that fight, pulled Tony aside after and said it himself. That kid's got heart.
You got heart, kid.
Even Cap couldn't deny it. 2 legends on opposite sides of a war, both seeing the same thing in Peter Parker. He was special, and both of them knew it. Then came Homecoming, and this is where Tony taught Peter the most important lesson of his life. Peter messed up. He went rogue, chased the Vulture alone, and nearly got people killed. So Tony did something brutal. He took the suit back.
Okay, it's not working out. I'm gonna need the suit back.
For how long?
Forever.
Peter begged, told Tony the suit was everything, told him he was nothing without it. And Tony looked him dead in the eyes and said, "If you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it." That line hit different, because Peter had been hiding behind Tony's tech. The web shooters, the AI assistant, the training wheels protocol, all of it was a crutch. Peter was playing the role of a hero instead of actually being one. So Tony stripped it all away and forced Peter to figure out who he really was underneath the suit. And Peter figured it out. He stopped the Vulture with a homemade suit, 0 tech, and pure heart. No Karen, no AI, just Peter Parker doing what's right because it's right. And when Tony offered him everything after, new suit, full Avengers membership, the whole deal, Peter said no thanks. He chose to stay in Queens, to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that's the moment Tony knew. Peter got it. It was never about the suit. It was never about the title. It was about the hero underneath. Tony smiled because he knew Peter was going to be just fine. Then Infinity War hit. Thanos was coming and Peter snuck onto the ship because he refused to let Tony face it alone. Tony was furious. But he also realized Peter wasn't turning back. So right there, on a ship heading to an alien planet, Tony did something he'd never done before. He made Peter an Avenger for real. Not as a gift, not as a reward. Peter had earned it. They fought Thanos together. Tony, Peter, Strange, the Guardians. They almost pulled it off. It was actually Peter who came up with the plan to get the gauntlet off. A kid from Queens, outsmarting a cosmic warlord. Tony watched and couldn't believe what he'd built. And then the snap happened, and Peter started to disappear. He was terrified. He didn't understand what was happening. He was just a kid, and the only thing he could think to do was grab Tony.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go.
And then he was gone, turned to dust in Tony's arms. That broke Tony Stark. For 5 years he carried that. The guilt of recruiting Peter, the guilt of watching him die, the guilt of not being able to save him. When the time heist came together, Tony hesitated. He had a daughter now, a quiet life, but the thought of Peter, that's what made him say yes. Endgame. The snap gets reversed. Peter comes back, and you can see it in Tony's eyes the second he spots him. Quiet relief. His kid is back. They fight together one last time, but this time Peter can't return the favor. Tony picks up the stones, snaps Thanos out of existence, and dies from the power. Peter's right there watching it happen. We won, Mr. Stark. We won. But Tony was already gone. Peter lost his father figure. The one person who believed in him from the very beginning. Gone. After Endgame, Peter was completely alone. No Tony, no Avengers. And in No Way Home, everything collapsed at once. His identity got exposed. His friends couldn't get into college because of him. Aunt May died because of him. Doctor Strange wasn't Tony. Happy tried, but he wasn't Tony either. Nobody was Tony, and Peter had no one to call. So he made the hardest choice of his life. He asked Strange to make the entire world forget Peter Parker ever existed. MJ forgot him, Ned forgot him, Happy forgot him, everyone forgot him. And just like that, Peter lost everything. The Stark tech, the connections, the support system, all of it gone. And now it's just a tiny apartment, a homemade suit, no backup, no mentor, no safety net, just Peter Parker and his powers. And this is where Peter finally grows up. This is where he becomes the Spider-Man Tony always believed he could be. No more training wheels, no more calling Tony, no more Stark tech riding to the rescue. Peter is completely on his own, and he rises to it. Everything Tony put him through, every lesson, every hard moment, every time he pushed Peter to be better, it was all building to this. Peter standing alone and choosing to be a hero anyway. And now Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to the MCU, but not as Tony Stark, as Doctor Doom, the main villain of Doomsday and Secret Wars. Let that sink in for a second. Peter Parker is going to see Tony Stark's face on the biggest villain the MCU has ever seen. He's going to hear Tony's voice, see Tony's eyes, watch someone who looks exactly like the man who shaped his entire life. Can Peter throw a punch at that face? Can he look Tony Stark in the eyes and fight back? Can he stand against the voice of the man who believed in him when nobody else did? This is the ultimate test. And Tony built Peter for exactly this moment without even knowing it. Be your own hero. Don't lean on the tech. Trust yourself. Do what's right even when it destroys you inside. Dr. Doom is going to force Peter to use every single thing Tony ever taught him. By the time Secret Wars arrives, Peter won't be a kid anymore. He won't be Tony's protege. He won't be the boy in the fancy Stark suit. He'll be a seasoned hero who lost everything, was forgotten by everyone, and rebuilt himself from nothing. The Avengers will assemble, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, everyone fighting Doom to save the multiverse. But for Peter, this fight isn't about the multiverse. It's personal. He has to look at Tony Stark's face and still say no. He has to fight the image of the man he loved like a father, and he has to win. This is where Tony's belief gets proven right once and for all, because Tony always said it, you're going to be better than all of us. And in Secret Wars, Peter delivers on that promise. Not by being the strongest in the room, not by having the best tech, but by being strong enough to fight Tony's face and still choose to do what's right. Think about the full arc of this journey. Civil War. A nobody kid gets recruited. Homecoming. He learns the suit doesn't make the hero. Infinity War. He earns the Avenger title for real. Endgame. His mentor dies saving the world. No Way Home. He loses everything and rebuilds himself from scratch. Doomsday. He comes face to face with his mentor's ghost wearing a villain's crown. Secret Wars. He becomes exactly who Tony always said he'd be. 10 years, one journey, and it all comes down to this moment. This is the real emotional core of the entire multiverse saga. Not the timelines, not the variants, not the cosmic chaos. It's Peter Parker becoming the hero Tony Stark saw in him before anyone else could. Tony was the foundation of the MCU, the first, the heart, and Peter is carrying that legacy forward. The student becoming the legend, the kid proving the belief was worth it all along. Secret Wars won't just be Peter versus Doom. It'll be Peter versus the ghost of everything he lost. The ultimate test of who he is. And when he looks at Tony's face and chooses to be a hero anyway, that's the moment we'll understand why Tony flew to Queens in the first place. Not for power, not for usefulness, because Peter Parker had heart. Steve Rogers saw it, Tony saw it, and in Secret Wars, the entire multiverse is going to see it too. Tony Stark saw greatness in Peter Parker before Peter even saw it in himself. He nurtured it, he protected it, he died for it. And when Peter stands across from Dr. Doom, when he looks into the face of the man he lost and still chooses to fight for what's right, Tony's story will finally be complete. Not because he came back, but because the kid he believed in became everything he always said he would. Tony Stark was right about Spider-Man, and we're finally about to see why.